So welcome to video 4 of my series, Reflections of a Concerned African Woman. In the previous videos, I've been expressing my deep concern about the treatment of Africans in different parts of the world that we have witnessed during this COVID-19 pandemic. There have been incidences in China, there have been incidences in Europe, and when you combine all of this with the general treatment of Black people that we see in the US, in Europe, in different parts of the world, it really calls for concern. In video 1, it was a general concern, it was a general call for us to be awake as Africans and to kind of look into what is happening and to become aware of who we are. In video 2, I was talking about how spiritually powerful we are and how we come from a high place of consciousness. And in video 3, I was talking about the purchasing power that we have, that we can actually use as a way to change the paradigm, to change the narrative that we have about Africa. In this current video, I'm going to continue from video 3, which is going to show you the powers that we have as Africans that we should probably be capitalizing on. We quite often point fingers at leaders, and I'm here to tell you that there's so many things that we can do without our leaders. It starts with the perceptions of who we are and continues with the decisions that we make every day. So in this video, I'll give you 5 things that we can possibly do without waiting for leaders to take action. Okay, so before we get there, let me give you a quick summary. I recently read an article online written by 2 different journalists, one white journalist and one African journalist. And what they were basically saying is that the consumption potential of Africa is increasing. It is actually predicted that by 2025, African households will be spending up to 2.5 trillion US dollars in consumer goods. This article's call for global businesses to expand their distribution and retail chains in Africa because there is a growing potential. They argue that there is a growing middle class of Africa with high incomes, and that this incomes goes very much into consumer goods. And this is exactly what this video is about. It is the power that we have in the global market. Now, have you ever asked yourself the question, if the world can exist without Africa? I mean, if we are a very poor continent, if we are looked upon to be a continent that depends on charity, where colonies, and then we became developing countries, and then we became emerging economies, and now they're saying that we are the global market where global companies should invest in. And remember that in my 3rd video, I was talking very much about how the Chinese businesses are growing in Africa. They are basically everywhere. Now let's go from there to another area. If you look into your city where you live in Africa, look at what kind of multinational companies, what kind of global companies are based there. You will see that almost all the luxury companies in the world are found in Africa. They sell in Africa. They are in the African market. Now ask yourself this question: will they be there if there was no money, if we were as poor as they say we are? When you look at the automobile industry, look at the furniture industry, look at the food industry. I mean, there's just so much that I can tell you about. I just wish for you to be vigilant. Look in the spaces where you are and see what is being sold there. What do the things that you buy, the things that you consume, where do they come from? And then we can start this conversation right now. So here are the 5 things that I think we need to do as Africans now so that we can change the perception that people have about us, but most of all, change the perceptions that we have about us, which are generally very negative. Okay, number 1, take pride in who we are as Africans. What does it mean to take pride in who we are? It means knowing our history. It means knowing our legacy. It means consuming the things that we produce. It means doing business with each other. It means being proud of who we are as Africans because we know what we represent in the world. I mean, just look at the figures that I gave you. If African households are spending If African households will be spending up to 2.5 trillion American dollars in consumer goods by 2025, just imagine how powerful we are. Is that not a reason to be proud? Well, I'll come to that a little bit later. Point number two, the thing that you can do without waiting for the leaders is change your consumption patterns. Yes, change consumption patterns. Look around you in your house again. What is it that you have? Your furniture, your equipment, your electronics, your food, even the food that you have on your table. Where does it come from? Who manufactures it? Who sells it? From whom do you buy it? Yes, you may tell us, yes, you may argue that some of these things are not being manufactured in Africa, but if there is a call for global companies to come invest in Africa, what are you waiting for? Should that call not be directed at you? Why don't you invest in Africa? So if we change our consumption choices, we can shift the perception about our continent. So consumption also means the destinations that we go to. Now, consumption also means the destinations that we go to during holidays. It is where we send our children to study. It is where we acquire knowledge. Okay. So how much money have you spent in Dubai? How much money have you spent in the UK? How much money have you spent in New York? How much money have you spent in Hong Kong? I mean, this is what we're talking about. If we change our consumption patterns and spend just half of the $2.5 trillion that we spend on consumer goods in Africa, on our own businesses, if we will do that, do you see how the paradigm will be shifting? This is what I'm saying. And for that, we don't need any leaders. We don't need leaders to make these decisions for us. You may tell me about taxes. Yes, that is something else. But if we start by consuming the things that we have here, we will definitely change the perceptions that I'm talking about. The number three thing that we can do without waiting for leaders is teach ourselves and our children about our history. How much do you know about your history as an African? How much do you know about yourself? How much do you know about the past and the current African history? How much of that do you know? How many books have you read in the past couple of days? If you read books, good for you. The next question is, what books are you reading? If I came to look at your bookshelves, what books would I find there? So if I were to look into your bookshelves, what kind of books will I find there? Would there be European books? Would there be American books? Or would I find some African authors there? Would I find Cheikh Diop? Would I find Kamara Lai? Would I find Chinua Achebe? And would I find some of the young authors that are publishing with Globuntu Books right now? So what is it that you're reading? What is it that you're reading to your children? What you read determines the perceptions that you have about Africa. If you are reading mostly European literature, you're certainly going to know more about European culture than you know about your own African culture. If you're reading more about European history, you're certainly going to know more about European history than you know about yours. Where does that leave you? Where does the knowledge of other cultures beside yours leave you? The thing is, we can be more Europeans than Europeans themselves. No matter how much we know about European history and European culture, we will always be second, if not fifth class, because, hey, the hierarchy is there. And those of us who have lived in Europe, you know that there is a very strong hierarchy. And right at the lowest point of the hierarchy is the Black person, is Africa. So what I'm trying to encourage you to do to shift the paradigm without waiting for leaders is to teach yourself your history. Go online, there is so much information. We are past the time when you had to go to the library in order to do research, to learn about your culture. There is so much out there online, and almost all of us have access to internet. So when you go online, what is it that you're consuming? What are you reading? What are your children watching on YouTube? Are they watching are they watching videos on white culture, or are they watching videos on Black culture? Are you creating content about Black culture, about Black history, about who we are, or you're consuming what other people have created for you? This decision we can make every day. We don't need our leaders to be able to create content that is empowering for us. We don't need our leaders to tell us which kind of content to create when we are online or when we are in a space of knowledge. So that is the number three thing that I think we definitely can do. Number four is invest in us. Investing in us is creating partnerships, creating business partnerships with Africans, bringing our businesses to Africa. It's about dealing in product and content that is empowering to Africa. So who is your business partner? If there was a European guy and a Chinese guy and an African guy to partner with in terms of doing your business, who will you go for first? Who will you partner with? This is the point that I'm trying to make, that if we trust in us and we invest in us and we build strong business partnerships, we will definitely change the paradigm. If of the $2.5 trillion that are going to be spent per year by 2025, if we can make sure that this money that is being spent is spent on businesses that are built in Africa, do you see where the conversation will take us to? If we can spend just 1/3 of that in business partnerships with Africa, if we can invest in our continent, I mean, these articles that I just mentioned, you can go online and do your own research. There's so much more that you see out there. This is inviting global companies to come invest in Africa. So if global companies are coming, where are you? Where do you stand? Where is your position? If global companies are going to be investing in Africa as they already are doing, it means they have the powers. I mean, we who are buying should actually have the powers to influence whatever is being sold to us. But if we are not in that market, if we are not in that space, it will be extremely difficult for us to. We have not been in that space the way we should. We don't show up there the way we should. And I'm here to invite you to say, let's invest in African businesses. Let's invest in us. Let's build strong partnerships with one another, from Cape Town to Cairo, from East to West Africa, from North to South Africa, and through Central Africa. We definitely can do this. And Africa has a new trade agreement on the continent. This enables us to do business with each other. So please, let's use that opportunity so we can shift the paradigm. We don't need our leaders again for this one. Number 5 is stop waiting for leaders. Stop waiting for leaders to bring the change that you want to see. You got to be that change. And in order to be that, there's so much that you can do. But just starting from this video, if you would do number 1, by taking pride in who you are. Number 2, changing your consumption patterns. Number 3, teaching yourselves and your children about our vast and rich African history and legacy. And number 4, investing in us. Then you will see that number 5 is already done. You don't need to wait for leaders to do that. So, dear Black people, dear Africans, I'm here to plead with you, to literally beg you to say, we have the powers to change the paradigm. We have the powers to change our history. We have the power to make Africa a great continent. We have the powers to influence our choices. Those choices are in our hands. Let's start another narrative today. Let's shift the paradigm today, you and I. I am doing my little contribution. If you visit my website, www.globuntubooks.com, you will see I am not saying anything that I'm not doing. If you're in need of knowledge, of books to read to your children, go to my website, www.globuntubooks.com, and you'll find a whole lot of books there. And it is just the beginning. You can join me in writing some of these books. There is so much we can do. So let's stop the excuse of waiting for leaders. You and I can change the story. We can write another page. We can write another chapter in Africa's history today. And I am challenging you to do your part, because you can.